Warning. 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 This is an urgent message to Joe Bob Briggs, host of a movie marathon, Monster Vision. And now, Mark Hasselhoff.
Alright, so this is an urgent message to Joe Bob Briggs. Now, if you hadn't heard already, so Joe Bob Briggs, who is a TV personality, he announced that his movie marathon series, Monster Vision, is going to come back in some form. But he needs an audience. He needs proof that there is an audience for this revival. And since James Wolfe did his video on it, I thought, why don't I do mine? Now, for those of you who do not know what Monster Vision is, basically Monster Vision was a movie marathon that ranked up there with Nick at Night that was around during the 80s and 90s and ended sometime around 2003 where the internet age kicked in and you can look up a movie in like 2 seconds. But back then, you didn't have the internet, so how could you find out about movies or TV shows? Through marathons. TNT's Monster Vision was primarily focused on horror and sci-fi, where Nick at Night and Turner Classic Movies that would come around the same time would do a wide variety of movies from all different genres. Monster Vision only focused on horror and sci-fi. Now, as you probably know, I am a die-hard fan of Turner Classic Movies. I did a video about it some time ago where I basically addressed why I love Turner Classic Movies so much. So you can check that here or here. Now, as you can tell, I am a huge fan of nostalgia. So this is kind of more like my territory, so I just wanted to say something about it. Now, Monster Vision focuses primarily on horror and sci-fi. There were two types of categories. There was the grade A classics such as Dracula, Frankenstein, War of the Worlds, Godzilla, that kind of thing. And then you have the B cheese movies like Ega and The Brain That Wouldn't Die or something. They would play them late at night and you would have to like stay up all night just to watch everything. And a lot of kids lost sleep during that marathon. I don't remember if it was a weekly thing or an everyday thing because I didn't watch it as a kid. I was born in '93. So even though I wasn't around or I didn't watch this series at the time, just the fact that an entire marathon dedicated to horror and sci-fi films is a great way for a kid to get introduced to horror and sci-fi, outside of Star Wars, of course. James Wolfe was a big fan of this series, as you probably know, and he did his own tribute on it, and that's how I was introduced to it. Just the idea of a monster marathon where you could watch something like War of the Worlds and then be transported to Godzilla or Jason Voorhees or something sounded so awesome. It was awesome. For the kids that did grow up with it, it was like their ticket to get out of school. Not really, but you get the point. So, Joe Bob, if you're watching this right now, I actually watched a few clips of yours and you're actually really funny and possibly the only person who could pull this whole thing off. Now, for me, as somebody who's a big fan of classic movies, I mean, as you can see in my collection, I have tons of classic movies. I have some modern movies too, but I am more a fan of the golden oldies, the classics. And in the case of Monster Vision, before it was classic movies and nothing but that. They would have different themes. Like I mentioned, they had the grade A films and the B cheesy movies, but then you also had your other themes. Like once they did a Godzilla marathon, they also did a Friday the 13th marathon, so they would have sort of different sort of themes. And for me, I think that's a really good idea. Because to me, like, you know, even if you're too young to actually see the movies as they were originally released, just the idea of being introduced to it through TV sounds like a really good idea. And yes, I know that not very many people would want to stay up late at night to watch, you know, all horror films because God knows they probably get nightmares or something. But just the notion of being introduced to, you know, movies that you probably never even heard of before. Like, anybody heard of A Brain That Wouldn't Die or The Wasp Woman? No? Okay. How about Bride of a Monster? Oh wait, you probably heard of this. But my point is that I think there's a big market for this. I think that there's a lot of potential for this. Considering that Turner Classic Movies and MeTV have shown that bringing the classics into the spotlight again makes people remember them more. If anything, cheesy horror films and a marathon like this could really work. Maybe there's some love for these kind of crappy movies. Maybe there's some kind of audience for them. I mean, I like cheese. What? So Joe Bob, I actually would watch this. I actually would take the time to watch these films. Although I'm a big fan of Turner Classic Movies, where I pretty much watch it no matter what movie's on. With Monster Vision, the revival, if it does get greenlit, I would watch it just for the notion of it being just horror and sci-fi. I think it's a really good idea. I mean, who knows? You could probably do whatever you want with it. You can, Joe Bob, you can do whatever you want with it. You could have, Bride of a Monster, EGOT, or the War of Worlds. You can do whatever you want. You can have the original Dracula. You can have, Frankenstein. You can even have an all Godzilla marathon. Oh my God, you can do all of that again. These movies deserve to be reintroduced to a new generation and make everybody forget that there were ever remakes. So, it's just a really good idea. You can even do a Friday the 13th marathon if you want. Do whatever you want. Now, I understand that times have changed with TV. I mean, nowadays, for pretty much showing anything you want. Back then, they had to kind of trim some stuff down. Nowadays, you can basically show it if you want to, because there's the TV rating system and all that. So I think that's another reason why this new Monster Vision would work, because nowadays, if something didn't work the first time around when you did Monster Vision, it could work now. You could show the Nightmare on Elm Street movies in their original form. Again, Friday the 13th movies, you can do that too. If the people who are telling you that you can do this say you also have to show modern movies, they're asking you to show something like Independence Day or even Cabin Fever or something, or even the Alien series. You can do that too. It's perfectly fine. I don't have any problem with it. Just as long as you bring back the classics, like the cheesy B movies that probably aren't as bad as everybody thinks. P.S. I know they're not any good, but, they're guilty pleasure movies nonetheless. So, show the classic stuff, show the modern stuff. The door is open, and you have my support, Joe Bob. You have my support. Also, one other thing. Can you by any chance show us like the drive-in totals as well? Or you could also play the old clips. I think those are really funny. The classic clips where you're just like talking and those are funny. I think those are really good. You have my support. You totally have my support. People who did grow up with it will love it even more because that was their childhood. That they stayed up all night to watch B horror films. They didn't get any sleep, but it was great because they experienced something that was a part of their childhood that they didn't think they would ever get again. They did not think that they would ever get that same level of love. Being in front of their TV, watching horror films and sci-fi classics late at night. I think it would really work. You'd please a lot of people. So, you have my support, and I look forward to seeing it. It doesn't matter if it's on TNT or something, or if maybe it's on Lifetime or something, who knows. You have my support. I would definitely watch it. I love TCM, but I am also interested to be one of the first people to experience Monster Vision. So for anybody out there on YouTube who's watching this right now, if you want to send your video testimonials to him, here's the email address so you can send it to him. And yeah, share your thoughts. If you want to do text or video, that works too. And yeah, definitely show him that there's an audience. Tell him that we would watch the new Monster Vision.